Panoramic views and let the sun shine with a wonderful SunSpace sunroom.
Take the first step in feeling good and looking great with brighter, whiter teeth in less than an hour at Durham Dental Centers. Using Zoom whitening technology, the fully trained clinicians will apply the patented whitening gel in 3 15-minute sessions to give you a great smile in only 45 minutes. So if you want a brighter, whiter smile, consider Zoom whitening from Durham Dental Centers. Now with 4 locations in the Durham area.
Experience life at the award-winning Carriage House Retirement Residence in exciting Oshawa, where a warm, friendly, and home-style atmosphere surrounds residents, their families, and friends. And right now, selected suites are available for only $1,500 through the Helping Hands package. 3 home-cooked meals daily, staff available 24 hours a day, housekeeping and inside and outside family activities. Call now to find out more and come home to your retirement residence, the Carriage House Retirement Residence in Oshawa.
This is a Dan Carter production.
You know, I can't talk too much tonight because last time I had this guest on, apparently I was trying to sound like I was a doctor, and I got told by my producer and by Dave, and Dave said Dr. Dave's going to come on the show, and he says, it's okay, Garth, are you going to be the doctor today? Because if you're going to be the doctor, I'll be the interviewer. So I'm now going to not talk as much, which for me, as you know, is very hard.
I don't think it's possible, Garth.
What?
Garth, come on.
What do you mean?
I think it'll work, though.
You think so?
Yeah.
But I have this cough thing that's going on.
Well, don't cough on me.
Can you fix it?
No.
What kind of a doctor are you? Listen, good to have you on the show.
Thank you very much, Garth.
And for the guests here tonight, for our viewers tonight, you're welcome to call in. What is your health pathway that you're choosing? And there's an interesting topic, because as Dave and I were talking about, getting ready to do this show, and I do have a little bit of that cough left, he was talking about glutathione. And of course, months ago I had a project on, or somebody came on talking about Max GXL Health. And they talk about glutathione there, but Dave wants to talk a little bit about the GSH, which is the glutathione. He also wanted to talk about what is the health pathway you're choosing. And I actually said, Dave, I think that's where we have a story. Because where the story is today is that there are people out there today, Dave, that are choosing some kind of pathway. They are, maybe they're doing it for financial reasons or beliefs or whatever it is. And they're making these decisions. It wouldn't be that many years ago we'd have a guy like you on the show, not you. But as soon as somebody said they were doing something, they'd automatically be judging them, saying, oh, you're doing it wrong. You don't take that approach.
No, and I think what people have to understand is that we're all on a pathway, whether we're actually involved in actively determining it or not.
Right.
I think that the research is clear that, and I'm sure everybody here in the audience knows somebody that's either had a heart attack or is battling cancer or is managing diabetes in some form. There's a health condition that we are in a pathway to handle. This is Easter weekend, and if those in the audience have ever, if they went to church on Sunday or some type of event where there was a collection of people, 1 in 3 will have heart disease. Depending upon who you read, 1 in 4 are going to have diabetes. 1 in 3 will have cancer, up to 2 in 5. So we're not talking about something that we don't have a risk for. And what I'm excited about is that in my own path, in my own understanding of where my path is going as a fellow human being, not a physician in this case, but as a fellow human being, I realized that I had some weaknesses. I had some genetic work done, I did some genetic assessment, and then I realized several weeks ago that there was something that everybody has, and this is the glutathione issue, as a means of helping to protect against illness and chronic disease.
Let's back up a bit. Mm-hmm. You're a chiropractor.
That's correct.
That is your education, and that is what you are a doctor of. You have a clinic called M.O.S.A.I.C Wellness. All of the years I've known you, I guess I've known you somewhere about 7 or 8 years now. Maybe a little less. You've always been sort of on the leading edge. Last time we had you here, you had all kinds of, I call it Dr. Dave's gadgets. But it's really designed about you trying to find the most efficient, non-invasive way to help people when it came to correction of chiropractic issues or tissue or joint issues.
Well, it's actually can be possibly even bigger than that.
Okay.
I mean, the essence of M.O.S.A.I.C is that everyone has their own makeup. We are the product of our genetic tree. We are the product of the foods we've eaten, the activities that we've engaged in, either sports activities or not, in terms of affecting our physical frame. We are also the sum total of the environmental challenges that we've been exposed to. And it is that pathway that really requires that the patient and the physician of any brand, of any stripe, sit down and discuss where they are heading. It's not as easy to say anymore that we can take this one drug for one situation. It's an eclectic accumulation of multiple issues that are affecting us, yet at the same time, with this glutathione story that you've so aptly identified, there is this issue that we all share. There is this issue within humanity that I believe needs to be taken to the streets, taken out into the public, because of its effect at potentially trying to limit the end result of that path.
So let's talk about it. So
Sure.
You decided as a health practitioner, knowing you're a human being.
That's right.
You're not superhuman.
No.
Although,
I'm subjected to the same stresses and the same
Right.
realities as everybody else.
So now what happens is you went and had some markers taken. You had some tests done
That's correct.
through some other.
It was a lab in the States called Siona Labs, and they do a mouth swab like you see on CSI, and they determine or they help to identify whether there or not there are any variations in my genetic code that have been proven to be modified by diet, lifestyle, and environment. We're not talking about, the.
Well, hang on, they were there, but they were modified or changed by what you were doing or living in?
You see, I think what people need to understand that there are some genetic markers that you can't change, the eye color that you have. Okay, but there are some that you can. You can change through diet and lifestyle the effect of your body weight and whether or not you're going to be more susceptible. I think the best example of that are the Pima Indians in Arizona who, lived in an environment where their genetics over 40,000 years allowed them to be able to live without a lot of water, without a lot of significant food, because they're living in the desert. Now that they have been exposed to the North American diet, their issue and their incidence of diabetes is huge. It's off the chart. It's significantly more than what you would find in an average population eating the same type of food.
Same with our First Nations people now.
Pardon me?
Same with our First Nations people.
Exactly.
Yeah. Average.
So it's this pool of individuals. If you have the susceptibility, it behooves you to then change the environment that you live within so that you have a better outcome versus a negative outcome.
But you need testing or markers to get there, and that's what you did.
Yeah, that's what I did, and what I found was that I had certain susceptibilities to antioxidant protection and oxidative stress.
So, okay, now break that down so everybody else gets it.
Sure, oxidative stress is like rusting on your car. If you think of your automobile as a cell within your body, it has various processes within it, and the metal shell that surrounds that automobile is painted. And the reason it's painted and it's protected with different types of sealants is to limit the rusting process that occurs in the metal when it's exposed to oxygen and water and the road salt that it's exposed to in our environment. And so you can oil your car, you can do various different things through various different companies to help protect the paint, to protect the surface, because we know that if that car begins to rust, that outer protection will begin to become weaker, and it will begin to be less able to be a protective surface. The same is true with a cell. The cells of our body, all maybe 100 trillion or so, need to have protection against its metabolic functions. If it's a liver cell, it has liver metabolic functions. If it's a lung cell, it has lung metabolic functions. And it's exposed to things like free radicals. If it's in the digestive tract, it's going to be exposed to aromatic hydrocarbons, substances in charbroiled meats, things that you would get if you were to overcook a piece of beef on the grill of your barbecue, that blackening process, the caramelization. And so what I realized and what I found from this was that I have this weakness. It doesn't mean that I have a disease, Garth, but what it means is that if I continually subject myself to an environment that would be negative for me, my pathway would head me in a direction that would be not desirable.
So is it like you have a scratch on the outer protective coating?
Could be. That'd be a great way of identifying that. And so I needed to understand how I could protect myself. So I guess one of the things I say in my clinic and specifically I'm susceptible to cigarette smoke and to car exhaust. I was a Boy Scout when I was younger, and if the wind direction changed around the campfire, man, I had problems. I mean, it really affected me in a significant way compared to other people. That's my uniqueness. Okay, why do we assume that we're so similar on the outside when we're so different on the inside? So, anyway, the idea, I got that reversed.
Yeah,
so similar on the inside and so different on the outside. But you understand the concept. And so what I realized was that I did not detoxify cigarette smoke very well or car exhaust. If I had been a smoking mechanic hanging around that environment all my life, it would have made me more susceptible to arriving at a disease process, potentially lung cancer or other types of cancers, sooner than later. And quite frankly, I want to achieve my disease after I'm dead. So what I'm trying to say is I want the trajectory of my disease and illness to occur after I'm gone.
So the news is?
Yes.
So the news is that you had this test done. It kind of edified or supported what you kind of knew anecdotally.
Sure. I realized these things as I was growing up, but didn't know why.
Right.
So I had a better understanding. And I recommend that people do this. It's very inexpensive to do.
How much?
Under $300 Canadian to have this test done for heart disease or heart susceptibility, blood sugar, antioxidant issues, oxidative stress, inflammation, and detoxification.
So where on the wacky scale would this one be? You know, Dave, you and I have talked about over the years, we've been on enough of these health shows.
Sure.
There's a bunch of wacky stuff you can do. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm saying, it is what it is. Where does this fall? Because you are a person that likes evidence to make sure that things have a certain thing. Where was it in the scale for you?
It's not the complete. It's not at the range of complete satisfaction for me. I think that, I need to define what complete satisfaction would be.
It wasn't a bad start.
It wasn't a bad start, but complete satisfaction would be that type of test that would give me that specialized answer. Says, yes, David, you have lung cancer, or yes, David, you have prostate cancer. That's pretty specialized. You can't run from that once you've got it. But within the realm of what I would call optimization, we're talking about an area of our health that is negative in the medical testing world. So in the medical testing world that's traditional in terms of blood tests or urine tests, we're talking about a negative assessment.
So it means that you would go get your test done, it wouldn't show anything?
No, I mean from the medical perspective.
Right.
And so if that's the only criteria, then we would think that everything was fine. But obviously,
okay, let me stop there for a minute.
Sure.
If that was the only criteria, by taking urine or blood tests,
yes,
then and it was the solid gold standard, then then people wouldn't be surprised one day to find out they just had the test done. It didn't show this. What I'm trying to say is, people go to the doctor and get a test done, and they say everything's okay, but it's only testing for this much of a sweep of perhaps many things that could be bigger than that.
What we need to understand is that we need to have this. By no stretch of the imagination am I downgrading it, but what I'm not doing is I'm not giving it more credibility than what it needs to be.
This is the point what I want everybody to think about, Dave.
Yeah.
Is I want the viewers to think about that while those tests are good for what they're designed to do, it isn't the be-all, end-all.
Not from a wellness perspective.
Okay, let's make
or not
sure
from an optimization perspective.
Then why don't you define what that means?
Well, optimization, it's really quite, I guess the best analogy, we're looking at the 2010 Olympics coming up out in Vancouver, Whistler, BC. If I want to be the best in the world, if I want to be the best in the world at downhill or giant slalom, I'm going to want to optimize my body's management of that particular event to be the best I can be. To do that, the athlete, in their mindset, in their training processes, will have any type of team player that will help support them, the best coach, the best technology upon which to ski. They're going to have the best nutrition. They want to be the best. That's optimization. As regular human beings, we're too much satisfied to just wait for something to happen, to really not push our body to be the best it can be. And so within that optimization capacity, that's where this test came in, because this gave me at least a way to think about where,
in a quantified way,
what the topographical map is of my body health.
Right.
So it is my topographical
map. Did it
map.
panic you?
No, it didn't.
Surprise you?
Not to the degree that I knew that I had this challenge where I just couldn't be around smoke.
Disappoint you?
No, it actually enlivened me because it gave me a chance to make a difference in my life. And I think that's the real message of what healthcare should be. Do you want to react after the fact and then have to kind of backpedal to find out what you can do because you now have this issue to manage? Or would you rather know that if you're heading in the wrong direction, that you could turn the car around and head in into the opposite direction, or at least 90 degrees in a direction? Would that not be valuable?
We're going to come back. We're going to go to break. When we come back, I'm going to do my best not to cough.